Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me, especially any of those of you that are new coming over here from Greg. Special shout out to all of you that have been so supportive. I really appreciate you. And then also, Greg, of course, for everything he's done for all of us, really. So it's Thursday. I hope you like what we go over here. September 28th, 2023. So the first thing we start with is the MMRI because it's a favorite risk indicator showing clear extreme risk in these markets. So we did watch softer markets yesterday on both the 10-year yield rising as well as the Dixie, which is the relative dollar strength. So when both of those went up, they pressured the markets and we had a spike in oil as well. So we're watching a little recovery. Could have a bit of a kind of a dead cut bounce today. We've got some news coming in. So really quickly with the calendars, we are expecting prior to the markets open initial jobless claims, which the Fed will be looking at for their rate hikes, the GDP revision, which we know it's a fake number, but it's still what they're going to use, whatever it is that they say. And then they're going to kind of manage the markets with their language afterwards. At 10 a.m., we're expecting pending home sales, which I do expect to be down because there's been such a restriction lately. And the big event is at 4 o'clock, which is after the market closes. Fed Chair Powell is having a type of a town hall meeting. So I don't know that we expect anything of that today, but just to prepare toward the end of the day for the following day. And so part of the reason that we're having these issues, these are today's mortgage rates. The 30-year fixed 7.65%. It really increases the cost of housing, and it's just kind of a wrecking ball at the moment with the rates. So we did have a couple of these stories coming out saying what's going on, stock futures slipping. We've also, this is because September is historically a weak month, as well as October, and this is the last week. So with this, we had the oil price surge, and then we've also got Fed President Kashkari. So he came out and said that we can expect one more rate hike this year. He was pretty hawkish, and that took a hit as well. So I wanted to bring this up because of all of these stories, really this one scares me the most, and it's about the yield curve improving. So the reason this one scares me is because historically, through the last depressions, when we basically experienced whether you call it a recession, depression, it's only a matter of degree. And when we had inverted yield curves that crossed and caused these, it was not until they uninverted and became better that the suffering portion of that depression happened. So watching that yield curve. On to stories about oil. So when I bring up stories, there's always more behind them. We have to kind of look at things and put them all together. So this one is talking about the oil prices higher on U.S. crude draw and tighter global supply. The truth in this is that we've drawn down our inventories because Russia and Saudi has decided to basically cut us off and punish the United States and the West for what has been going on. They are controlling the energy supply because on the other side, if they're so tight on supply, they are now delivering to Pakistan via Iran. They've just made a deal. So now Russia is making money hand over fist on their crude, shipping it different countries different ways. And we are basically kind of at their mercy, Germany in particular, and the EU really in a tough spot coming into winter. So that's the truth of what's going on with oil. So we got a couple of other stories. This one regarding real estate. So Evergrande, the halting trading after the founder was put under police control. So they put up this story talking about so Evergrande, if you don't know, they are a major uh, Chinese builder for construction, and they were claiming bankruptcy. So when they did this, they are one of the major harbingers of the default on the debt for China. And so basically, what's going on here by putting him under police control, quote unquote, this kind of buys them time. So they don't have to say that there is any action specifically going on with Evergrande, and they can kind of control how the news rolls out as far as with the bankruptcy and then other controls with this debt default. So we've got this other story, and I agree with this one. It's from the Zillow co-founder that housing really is at a standstill. because we're watching a lot of news float out about how strong housing still is, homes still selling, and yes, they are selling, but the market itself is really starting to buckle. And we're going to see this moving forward because we've got a couple of pressures from Airbnb is one. And not only that, we've got the people that are being forced to go back into the office if they want to keep their jobs. So they have to move, sell their house, and get back to closer to where their office was. So I want to go a little more over the trade wars. Okay, this is part two because Russia and Saudi and China kind of controlling the energy. In the second part, Russia is slashing food exports to Western countries, to quote unquote unfriendly states. And this is basically the Western states. And this is tit for tat over the Western sanctions in Russia. And basically, they're talking about agricultural exports, including fish exports, will happen and look primarily towards friendly countries. So they're controlling the food market now, starting as well. So we've got this other story going along with it because Russia sanctions, basically the United States sanctioning Russia. They found ways to go around us since basically America stole their money, their bank reserves through the bank failures. Russia and China and several other countries are now trading directly in their own currencies. So Russia now trading directly with China through the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. They're warning now that Russia's trade with China in the yuan is giving the yuan a boost, as well as the ruble, and kind of crushing the dollar. No longer need the petrodollar, which was set up to keep the dollar strong. So this is not going to happen overnight, but this is crushing the US dollar, probably timeline months to a year, a couple of years. But we are going to watch it completely degrade. So we've got the world's top crypto exchange also leaving Russia, but this is kind of mistitled, and I'm going to tell you why. So this is Binance. If you are not familiar with cryptocurrency, this is like a major bank for cryptocurrency and exchange. And so the United States kept putting curbs and controls on them. So they basically allowed other countries to trade, but not the United States. So now the US is putting pressure on them so that they cannot do business in Russia. So they just decided to sell. So they didn't just leave Russia, they basically sold to COMEX. And now they're a newly launched exchange in Russia and will be one of the world's largest, growing behind one of these others. And now this gives Russia access to basically full cryptocurrency exchange. If you don't mind, please take a moment and hit the like if you do actually like anything that I'm saying. I appreciate you folks being here. And if you're still here, I've got a couple other things I wanted to bring up. Costco is now selling gold bars, and they're selling out within a few hours. Why am I bringing this up? Not just because this is a beautiful Pump Swiss 1 ounce gold bar, but because they're talking about how they have done their research. Now, I get a lot of questions about, okay, you talk about getting outside the system, unbanking. How exactly do we do this? Well, they're talking about the people that are buying these gold bars and what they're doing. So here we go. There is definitely a crossover of people living off the land, number one, being self sufficient, number two, very important one, number three, is believing in your own currency, which in this case is gold and silver, not government currency, which is fiat dollars. And then that's the appeal. Gold is a safe haven as people lose faith in the US dollar. With inflation still elevated, banks under the gun from regulatory standpoint, and this is me saying this, but also crumbling in the background, and looming issues in the commercial real estate market, the safe haven aspect of gold and silver should be strong. And now they kind of look forward to more of what we've got to look forward to in this crash, and they line it out. We know that the roadmap looks like this: bank failures, commercial loans defaulting at an alarming rate. This is all happening right now. And they don't seem to have a handle on inflation, and that's why they keep raising interest rates, he said. The outlook for stability in the market isn't good, And people want assets that are going to be a safe haven. That's what gold and silver provide. So for those of you that ask why buy gold, why buy silver, buy physical, now you can even get it at Costco by shopping for your groceries. So there you go. Couple of lava updates. We've got this one coming in. Google user data has been a favorite of police shortcut. So police just going to Google, basically looking at people's information. Some of it shouldn't necessarily be out on the World Wide Web. It hasn't been out there with your permission, and the government entities are now beginning to use it. And this one is Facebook, kind of similar story. Be careful what you post. How Facebook and the US government have united against Americans with the wrong views. So, kind of what they're talking about is that they're saying this has become a witch hunt on the web. A Facebook staffer said that over the past 19 months, they have been red flagging content that they consider to be quote unquote subversive and immediately transferring it to the Bureau, meaning the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Domestic Terrorism Operational Unit, without the FBI having filed a single subpoena. So they are going outside the established US legal process without probable cause and in breach of the First Amendment, basically. So the important part of this is if you get in there as soon as they flag you with this, as soon as you are labeled a domestic terrorist, you lose all rights. So this is a very scary thing. Just want to bring this up. But also on the back of this, don't remember we've got a full list exactly what you need to do here pretty much. And we've got to look forward that you can recognize these things happening. So with that, I wish you a green trading day if you're a trader, or just a wonderful day in general. Thank you kindly for joining me. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.